Several years ago, I saw Lisianthus at a local nursery one spring and bought some on a whim. I'd never heard of it, had no idea how to grow it. I didn't know if it would survive our terribly hot summers here in the low desert, but I planted it, and believe it or not, it grew, was beautiful, had blooms all summer long, and some of those plants even came back the next year. The beautiful rose-like blooms of Lisianthus were such a pleasant surprise. I had no idea how beautiful Lisianthus blooms were. Lisianthus has definitely earned a spot every year in my summer garden. And in today's video, I'm going to share my best tips for growing Lisianthus. But if we haven't met before, my name's Angela from Growing in the Garden, and I love to share garden inspiration and helpful tips so you can be successful in your own garden. The first and probably most important thing to know about growing Lisianthus is that it is tricky to grow from seed. Leave growing Lisianthus from seed to the professionals. Buy Lisianthus plugs or transplants. Look for local growers or retails that stock Lisianthus. It's gaining in popularity, and you're probably going to be able to find it at a local nursery. Online retailers also ship Lisianthus. Make sure that they ship at the best time for you to plant in your area. So when you plant Lisianthus transplants, you want to space them about 6 inches apart. Most Lisianthus plants grow tall, and the support from other plants helps keep them upright. When you plant those transplants, plant them a little bit higher than soil level to avoid those stems rotting. It's important to plant Lisianthus at the right time. Plant Lisianthus transplants in the spring after danger of frost has passed. Lisianthus is a warm, loving crop. You definitely don't want to expose it to those cold temperatures. The best time to plant Lisianthus in the low desert of Arizona is from March all the way through June. Planting Lisianthus early in the season gives it time for those roots to get developed before the heat of summer comes. The other thing I love about growing Lisianthus is there are so many different colors and varieties to choose from. Take a look at your growing conditions and where you're planting the Lisianthus to decide which colors and which heights of Lisianthus you want to grow. Remember, when you're growing the taller varieties of Lisianthus, you're probably going to need to stake those to give them some extra support. Give Lisianthus the right kind of soil. Aim for a pH level between 6.5 and 7. So if you haven't tested your soil in a while, then go ahead and test your soil. Especially if you've grown Lisianthus before and haven't been successful, the pH level of your soil may have been the reason. Plant Lisianthus in well-draining, rich soil that has been amended with compost. Feed your Lisianthus regularly with an organic fertilizer formulated for flowers. That will encourage the most blooms. Give Lisianthus plenty of sunlight. Lisianthus is native to the southwestern United States and Mexico. Lisianthus prefers warm, dry air. Cool, humid locations may have difficulty growing Lisianthus well. Choose an area of your garden that gets full sun. I have Lisianthus planted in different parts of my garden. The Lisianthus plants in the shady areas are much smaller with fewer blooms. A little afternoon shade is okay here in the low desert, but don't be afraid to give Lisianthus plenty of sunlight. It's important to water Lisianthus correctly. Raised beds are a great choice for growing Lisianthus because the soil drains really well. Lisianthus stems will rot in moist, soggy soil. It's important not to get water on the leaves. They prefer a deep watering less often than frequent shallow watering. Let that soil dry out just a little bit between waterings. To encourage a nice full plant, cut Lisianthus stems back when they're young. After the first flush of blooms, cut the stems back all the way to the rosette. Water and fertilize well to encourage an additional flush of blooms. This results in a more uniform set of second blooms. For a less drastic approach and continual blooms, deadhead spent blooms by cutting each bloom back where it emerges from 2 sets of leaves. Plants should continue to send up flower stalks while temperatures are warm. Lisianthus makes a beautiful cut flower. Here are a few ways that you can maximize the lifespan of cut Lisianthus blooms. Harvest the blooms in the morning when the temperatures are the coolest. Harvest once 1 or more of the flowers on the stem are open. Use sharp scissors or pruners to cut the stem just above the base of the plant. Strip all leaves below the water level in the vase. Recut the stems before adding them to the vase. Replace water in the vase every few days as needed. Lisianthus is typically grown as an annual in most climates. However, Lisianthus is actually a perennial and can be overwintered in the warmer zones, usually zones 8 to 10. To grow Lisianthus as a perennial, cut back the plants after the last blooms fade in the fall and mulch well with straw, and new sprouts should emerge in the spring. It's easy to see why I love growing Lisianthus in my garden. I hope you will too. Thank you so much for watching.